question.
Just come with the budget.
Do you see him sitting at the table?
Donna went
Yes,
to the
yeah.
clerks conference in
What do you have in his hand?
Saratoga.
Yeah, it's a little joke. It's an inside
Oh,
joke.
Saratoga Vichy?
Yeah.
Whoops.
So I need a motion to return from executive session.
I'll make a motion.
And a second.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And a decision was not made. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is the 2013 audit report, and we have O'Connor Davies, and thank you for coming, and looking forward to hearing about your report.
We've completed our audit, as you all know.
Can you just
and,
put a mic?
We've completed our audit, as you all know, and we've issued a financial report and a management letter. And we're here this evening just to briefly go over the financial report itself. And the town of Hyde Park, has numerous funds, but certainly the major operating funds of the town are the general and the highway fund. So we'll go through those funds this evening. And if you would just turn to page 46.
Warren, you don't have one? I'll get you one.
It's a pretty thick document.
It's got a binding.
Sure, you want to get one?
Sure.
And musical reports. Okay, on page 46, we have the general fund, and it's the schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, both budget and actual. And we have the amounts for 2013 on page 46, and comparative amounts for 2012 on page 47. As you see, it's a 4-column presentation, the original budget, which is the budget adopted by this board sometime in November, December of 2012, with one simple change, and that is that any purchase orders that were open at the end of 2012, the budget is automatically increased. So when those purchase orders are filled, the amounts can be paid. And the amount of the purchase orders, by the way, were $39,711, as you'll see in a second. Second column is the final budget, which is the original budget, and then any changes made and approved by this board during the year ended December 31st, 2013. The actual results of operations, which are the monies collected and the monies expended for the year, and a variance column, which is simply the difference between the final budget and the actual. And if you take a look at the original budget column, the third line up from the bottom, you'll see a negative number, the number I just mentioned, $39,711. Those are the open purchase orders that were outstanding at December 31st, 2012. So fund balance was appropriated to pay for those open purchase orders. During the year, in the final budget column, you'll see that the anticipated use of fund balance increased from $39,711 to $149,705, and I think the largest portion of that was an anticipated transfer in from the capital projects fund, was then believed to be that should go to the highway fund. So you'll see about the fifth line up, the transfers in, which are a revenue source, were reduced, and fund balance, the use of fund balance was increased. So what that means now is that if the budget come out exactly as anticipated, that the fund balance of the town would have decreased by $149,705. If you go to the third column, the actual column, again, the third line up from the bottom, you'll see that the fund balance for the year ended December 31st did not decrease. As a matter of fact, it went up by $99,255. So certainly a very positive year for the town of Hyde Park. When you compare the actual results to the final budget, that gives you the variance column, which means you had a budgetary surplus. You had an actual surplus of $99,265, but you had a budgetary surplus of $248,960. Now, the budgetary surplus can only come from the two sides of the budget, the revenue side and the expenditure side. And about quarter of the way down the page there, you'll see the total revenues. The final budget for total revenues was $5,465,000. Actual revenues were $5,606,000. So of that $249,000 budgetary surplus, $140,000 came from the revenue side of the ledger. And basically, the two largest items you'll see is $41,223 from sale of property and compensation for loss. That's insurance recoveries received by the town. And the very next line, licenses and permits, $50,463 above budget, and those are building permits. And that $140,000 variance is about a 2.5% of budget. So that means when the budget was adopted some 13 months prior to the year end, it was 97.5% accurate. I'd say that's a pretty good guesstimate, some 13 months before. On the expenditure side, which is where the balance of the money came from, 3/4 or so of the way down the page, the total expenditures for the year were anticipated at $5,828,000. Actual expenditures, $5,720,000. So $107,767 in savings from the expenditure side of the budget, and that's about 1.8% of your budget. There again, there's two somewhat larger items, not very large, but somewhat large. General government support area, which were all the various departments was in the general fund, was almost $44,000, the very first line. And culture and recreation, which is parks and playgrounds, $32,665.
I was wondering, what's the home and community services category?
I
I was
could-
trying to figure that out when I
If
was
we go
looking at it.
to page
53.
53, right at the top. This is
Zoning,
all by,
planning, and
this
assessing?
is all by New York State uniform system of accounts,
Okay,
by the way.
now I see.
And you can see it's zoning, planning, environmental control, refuse and garbage, and new landfill.
Thanks.
So again, just going back to that actual column, as I said before, you increased the fund balance by $99,255. You started the year with a total fund balance of $853,503. So you end the year again with a total fund balance of $952,758. And that's made up of several components. And if we just go back one page to page 45, on page 45, you have the general fund balance sheet, and this reflects the assets, the liabilities, and the fund balance as they were on December 31st, 2013. You can see you had total assets of $1,223,000, total liabilities of $270,690, and total fund balance, as I just said, $952,758. And you could see that's made up of 4 categories. The non-spendable category, which includes your prepaid items. When you pay your retirement bill in the month of December, you're paying New York State for an estimated retirement through March 31st of 2014. So you have 3 months of prepaids for both the ERS and the PFRS. Since that's no longer spendable money, it's no longer in your bank account, municipal accounting requires that you set up a non-spendable category for that because you no longer have it in the way of cash. That's $130,000. You have restricted fund balance, which is something that was resolutions adopted by this board to set aside money for specific purposes. And you have $140,322 for compensated absences, which is any vacation and sick time that has been accrued by your employees that may be due upon separation from service, retirement or separation from service. And $50,000 that's been put away for the retirement of future debt service. That's the $190,000. Then you have assigned fund balance. In the assigned fund balance, you have the open purchase orders outstanding at December 31st now in 2013, which will automatically increase your 2014 budget. And that's $39,633. And this year you did something that you haven't done in the previous year. You've used $153,492 of fund balance to balance your 2014 budget. What that means is that when you adopted the 2014 budget, your expenditures were in excess of your revenues. So you had a couple of choices. You could have increased the real property taxes, you could have cut programs, you could have done a mixture of both, but because you had the fund balance that you did, you gave back to the taxpayers $153,492 to balance that budget. Now, the one thing you should know about that is that that's about 5.5% of your tax levy. So that's something to keep in mind for future years, because if the fund balance does run out, which right now there's no problem, you have plenty of fund balance, you'd have to break the cap now to come up with that money. That leaves you with the unassigned fund balance. That's the free and clear monies. That's the amounts that you have available for any contingencies that may arise during 14 or thereafter, or to help balance your 15 budget, and that's $438,484, and that's about 7% of your $6 million general fund budget. So certainly shows that the town of Hyde Park is in very good financial condition at December 31st, 2013 within the general fund.
Great. Wonderful.
Very quickly, on the highway, I'll just, 54, I'll just take you through the balance sheet there. You can see that the highway has a total fund balance, the second line up from the bottom under the 2013 column, of $319,458. Again, you have the non-spendable category, which is the prepaid for your employee retirement system, of $64,000. You have your restricted fund balance, which is the amounts put aside by the board, $40,000 for compensated absences, $75,000 for snow and ice removal. And I'm going to assume that you probably needed that in January, February, and March. And $60,529 for debt service. And that left you almost $80,000. $10,000 of that was encumbrances, and you actually used $94,000 to balance the 2014 budget. So there, really, the unassigned is a deficit of some $24,000. So that's something you have to really look at during 2014, especially with the first 3 months of the year being what they were. Just some further information, if you look at pages 57 and 58. These are your special districts, and you can see they all have positive fund balances, and they're in good financial position. The water districts, the sewer districts, the lighting districts, and your ambulance district. And then on page 63 and 64 is your active capital projects. So this is a nice little schedule, seeing, what your active capital projects are, and basically in at what point of completion they're in, what the total budgets were, where the revenue from the total budgets came from, and the short-term outstanding debt to fund some of these projects, which is the last column, the bond anticipation notes. Go through some of the footnotes?
Sure.
Pick and choose.
Okay. Let's see. The notes start on page 23. And note 1 is just informational, standard. They don't really change much from year to year. Page 28 and 29 describe the various components of fund balance that Dominic went through earlier. So if you wanted to read a description of, what exactly any new category or reserve that the board may adopt, you can see what bucket it would fit into. Pages 30 and 31 just talk about your budget and the property tax limitation. The actual numbers start on page 32 with note 3. You can see the interfund receivables and payables, just, temporary loans until the cash is paid back between funds. Page 33 shows the capital assets of the town, so all your land, construction in progress, and all your buildings and equipment that are owned by the town. Page 34, this is the pension footnote's a big note. You can see it will list out the rates for each tier of employee for ERS and PFRS, and then it gives comparative data for 3 years, so you can see how the rates have been increasing over the last 3 years, and the contribution by the town. Page 35 starts the, note E shows the short-term borrowings, those bands that Dominic mentioned in the capital fund, it's just the short-term financing. And then table F starts, this lists out all the long-term debt that the town has. The first section are the bonds payable, so you have $13.4 million of bonds outstanding at year end. Then you have liabilities for comp absences of $558,000, some landfill closure costs of $250,000, and then the OPEB, which is the other post-employment benefits. As of December 31st, the liability is up to $5.8 million. And that's a liability that can't currently be funded by the town, but it's going to continue to increase over the 30-year period.
And that just represents the retirement benefits of the people who work for the town and
Exactly.
The health
All-
insurance costs
the health
through
insurance.
retirement,
Okay.
for both the active employees and your retired employees.
And you hire an actuary that determines the every 2 years, they do a new full appraisal to update their, what the liability will be.
Is that what was, I couldn't understand that first bullet on the highlights on page 3, so that's what that was about, the
It's the MD&A.
post-employment benefits?
I'm sorry, you said the first bullet?
Yeah,
Yes, that's what it is.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's-
that's a change in how that's,
There's no
There's no
change every year. It's
okay.
like every year you amortize 1/30th of what the total liability, I could show you, I could direct you to the note.
Page
There's a whole-
38
yeah,
is,
38.
okay.
This will show, this table shows what the unfunded, excuse me, actuarial accrued liability is, that 9.7 million.
that'll be the total amount right now to fund both your current and retired employees, 9.7 million.
And then each year, each year, 1/30th is added to that. So it's going to be, everywhere we go, it's an astronomical number. And by state law, you can't fund it yet. So it's just going to keep growing. And it doesn't affect your fund level financial statements, which is what your budget's based on, except, the contributions made, that's what you actually paid this year to your retirees, that $262,000.
Does that include
Yeah,
health
the-
insurance?
The two interesting numbers
retirement,
here
yeah.
are that, you have active employees of 38 and retired employees of 17. Right? So you almost have half retired employees who are still being funded for their health insurance as compared to your active. And the contributions made for those 17 retired were $262,000. Now, I said before, that general fund amount that you used to balance the budget of $153,000 was 5.5% of your tax levy. So this amount is probably close to 7% of your tax levy, just for the health insurance benefits for retired employees. It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
And page 39 lists, again, it's a 3-year comparison, so you can see what the cost was, and then your net OPEB obligation at the end of each of the last 3 years. Letter G shows the encumbrances that Dominic mentioned. These are the outstanding purchase orders as of December 31st, 2013, that will roll over and automatically increase your 14 budget when they're paid. H just shows the transfers between funds, and then page 41, I think, is a very useful table. It'll list out in detail all the components that Dominic went through earlier in general and highway that are just shown on one line in the financial statements. This table lists out each individual piece of what makes up each category. That's pretty much it. On 42, you have the litigation note. There was really nothing going on other than the standard tax certiorari cases, and your risk management and contingency notes. What?
No, I believe that concludes. Unless there's any questions, of course, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
No, are we going to be able to add anything to the restricted fund balances this year, TC?
I'll say that since we adopted the budget, and that's what, they take the adopted assigned balances in there. We've reduced them in budget revisions in January and February, so the assigned balances are been reduced substantially in both funds. Of course, the highway fund, took a hit because of the winter, so the general fund is operating right now, performing at what we expect. So we'll see. It depends on what litigation matters develop, and of course, the police budget is an uncertainty as far as overtime. You still got to go back through the highway fund November and December and see what we do with the snow removal costs, but nothing crazy at this point, and we'll give you a semi-annual report in July, the 6-month performance, so we'll take a better look at that.
So in 2013, we added, was it 150 to the fund balance total?
99, I believe I said.
99, okay. Oh, yeah, there it is.
99,255.
2 years in a row, you've increased your fund balance. That's what was significant.
Okay. Well, that was challenging. It was living within your means and then a little extra.
I first want to thank your supervision and your leadership, because it has been challenging. And I know that the departments all have been working extremely hard to stay within the budget. And I know that we've had a lot of banter back and forth with our department heads. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership in your office to make sure that Town of Hyde Park is on solid ground. And looks like we're in that direction. So.
And thanks to Dominic and Margaret for putting together another audit at our request. So I know that it went a lot easier this time than it had in previous times. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, well, we've adopted the systems that you would like to see. So
You have. You
yeah,
have.
so good.
Yeah, it was good to see that the recommended changes to the controls were pretty
Yeah,
minuscule.
Just some housekeeping
Yeah,
amounts.
that's
Otherwise,
great.
you would have heard from us a lot sooner.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks again.
Thank you
Okay,
for having
we'll
us.
See you again. Thanks. Okay,
I wanna-
TC,
yeah, I
you
wanna
want to
pick-
go over some of the,
One thing, I just want to piggyback. This is the official announcement that was sent by Moody's
yeah, wait till you can use the mic
on
there.
the bond rating review.
So what is this?
This is the official announcement, from Moody's, where they've affirmed our AA3 rating, which was recently reviewed. The actual review and the long document was released by Moody's April 30th, which confirms our AA3 rating, which I think was a tremendous accomplishment by the town, that we weren't lowered. Many municipalities were lowered their bond rating based on the new standards that were developed by the rating agency. So I think this is a great accomplishment. We had a committee of myself, the supervisor, 2 or 3 of others. We gave a strong argument, right, Aileen?
Yeah, we did.
To Moody's. It was a conference call. Of course, their rating methodology is really based on the financial position of the town. They were very impressed with the increases in the fund balances for 2 years and the implementation of their financial policies and the leadership that the town board has had in place since 2012. So this is, I've been involved in many rating agency reviews on both the good side and bad side, and this was good based on this economic environment, that because they use a 5-year history. Our argument to Moody's was based on the most recent 3-year history, which shows an improvement in the financial performance. They're taking the years 2008 and 9, and of course that's when the economy collapsed. So that was the basis of our argument. But this was real good news. It took some doing. This was a lot of hours involved, and Aileen and the staff worked on a real. I call
A
it
presentation.
presentation.
Yeah.
I did the financial argument and got a little involved with the rating agency. Her name was Tiffany, but she's very thorough. But this is good news for the town, over and above the good news you got on your
Can you
your
explain
audit.
TC, oh, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
that just what this means to our bottom line? Because it's my understanding, it's not just something to pat ourselves on the back about, but
bottom line-
that every year, the borrowing that the town already has for roads and the police station and things like that is reevaluated every year, right? And if our bond rating had gone down, we would have
Interest
been
rate.
paying more.
Yeah.
And so that would have hurt our budget, and we would have had to go to the taxpayers for that extra money, so.
The bottom line
it's really
is
a good-
that this helps your interest expense. For example, we have a bond anticipation note renewing here in July, and you're going to probably add some borrowings if we borrow for highway machinery. And we anticipate a bond anticipation rate of maybe 1% or lower. If your bond rating reduced, that could be 2 to 3%. So basically, with a reduction in the bond rating, it raises taxpayer costs because it increases your interest expense.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty important.
And it makes it
that-
difficult
yeah.
for additional borrowing sometimes. Yeah. You don't, the other thing is, the impact is you don't get as many prospective people bidding on your bonds. But this is real good news.
That's very good.
So thank you.
And
Good job.
as TC said, they adopted a new paradigm for evaluating towns, and
Yeah.
it was a lot
that?
more.
What does that mean, the new paradigm? They didn't,
They have new guidelines,
made it tougher, I guess.
Yeah,
They
it's about a 30-page document. I don't know if you want to read it. It's very technical. If your fund balance is decreased, if your payroll's increasing by a specific amount, if your expenses are increasing over and above standard 2.5, over and above the cost of living, the CPI index, if they're increasing higher, if your revenues are dropping, it's all.
So they're really
if
looking
your-
with a
yeah,
microscope.
Your tax base is declining at such a bad rate, there's a lot.
So it's really well looked at, so this is
Oh, yeah.
really a great rating.
The-
Terrific news.
She does a very thorough analysis, they really do, but then what happens is she gives her recommendation to the board, and there's a board, like a corporate board sits down and makes a determination. So we were very pleased when we got this.
And they didn't just look at the town's controls, they also looked at what's going on in the community and the investment that's happening here and all the good signs of having a strong
Yeah.
community.
We actually have
They were they were impressed with the, a little bit, which helped too, is your I'll call it your corridor here, your Route 9 corridor, that there's been improvement in your corridor. The tax-based on the non-residential side has been improvement, so they were impressed with that.
They actually our representative in the credit market did a really nice presentation. I can share it with everybody. Actually, it'd be nice to put it on the website. It just
Yeah.
kind of really profiled Hyde Park's assets.
What I loved, it said that you were conservative, like, I think 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
So
we're very
I'm very proud of this board for being conservative. And, it
does say that in the
it-
It
it
does,
does.
yeah, we're
And,
conservative.
you can be a Democrat and be very conservative, and, it shows in the ratings. So,
It does.
thank you.
I was surprised that the conservative word is in there 3 times.
It's a positive word. All
So
right,
it's
great.
been a pretty good last 2 weeks. with this,
Well,
and
we have a lot to appreciate that you contribute, TC. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, did you want to go over any of the highway?
Anything specific?
Oh,
Well,
okay.
that is, the
in-
last memo is just
Okay.
a summary, one-pager that is taken from the audit
Okay.
report.
Oh,
So
okay.
it tells you all the fund balances.
Perfect.
And you'll be able to keep that in file in case you want it.
Okay.
Special
Thank you,
district, I
TC.
don't get on that.
Okay,
you, TC.
see you. Take care. All right, so moving on, the second item on our workshop agenda is the MS4 report. Come on up, Tad and Pete.
Awesome, thank you.
Guys, so it's that time of year again.
It
Talk
is.
about MS4.
It is.
Exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff, yes.
It
goes quickly.
Not quite exciting as finding out that your fund balance is healthy.
We saved
but-
$100,000, now that's exciting. You-
Okay, so we've got 3 things here. The first thing is, I think as you know, every year we have to file an annual report on our stormwater management program. That's required because we're an MS4. And the annual report is due to be filed June the 9th. And it's currently approximately 90 to 95% done. Tad and I have been working on it. It's currently posted on the website. It has to be posted there for anyone who wants to make any, or anyone who wants to go on, I can look at it. I'm sure everybody wants to go on there, to look at it, but
Pete, can I just interrupt you for a
Sure.
sec? Just so the public knows, can you explain what MS4 means?
absolutely. Go ahead, Ted, this is like your
No,
baby.
No.
Come on.
This is, no, she asked you. I'm just happy that we're talking about it.
Oh, we like it, we
We
like
can
it
look
when
at it
you're
on next
happy.
year's
Go ahead,
report.
Ted, go ahead. You can explain what it is. You want to do it, or you want me to do it?
You can do it.
Oh, come on. MS4 is, it's a term called Municipal Separate Stormwater System, right?
Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System.
Storm sewer
That's
system.
the 4 S's.
Okay. And it was, MS4 was enacted back in 2003. And it was mandated by the federal government through the Clean Water Act. And you're termed an MS4 community by census data. So Hyde Park is at the northernmost limits of being an
So it's-
MS4.
It's not
And
population determined, or it's?
It's population determined, right,
Oh, okay, but you're saying that our population.
and density, yes.
Oh, and density.
So, for instance, Putnam County is more dense, so they have more stringent regulations, and they're watched more. I mean, we're watched, and we're supposed to comply with, the program. Back in 2003, we had to file an outline of what we felt was, our program was going to be, given the type, of drainage that we have. Again, our drainage is more like a rural nature, except for down, here in, the hamlet areas. But, so it was something that was regulated in 2003 by the federal government.
Okay, so-
And it's administered through the Department of Environmental Conservation.
I mean, just to get really basic, it's basically runoff and.
Okay,
And stormwater, where the water goes.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to get that basic, but yeah, that's fine. That's fine, that's basic, yes.
It is basic,
It's
but
drainage, how's
it's
that?
drainage.
Sorry.
Well, I mean,
Drainage.
Well, and the.
And we're
pollution
supposed,
that can be
right,
generated and
and we're
water runs
supposed,
across
the whole,
lake.
the whole theory behind, behind the program was to raise awareness for stormwater runoff that would have, pollutants in it from, parking lots and that thing. But also, one of the biggest items was to try to control stormwater runoff from construction sites, so that when you're out there moving around, the earth, and you get, dirty water flowing into your drainage system. And that's really been one of the biggest things, that I think, for us up here, in our area, has been a real big plus.
So is that
So-
implemented at the planning board level? Or how is that implemented?
No, it's really implemented,
But
here.
it isn't.
Well,
as,
we review everything,
Carefully.
most of, I would say probably 99% of the projects that have to do, with drainage
Yeah.
come through, the planning board.
Yeah.
Planning board process. But, taking care of our MS4 program and being here tonight is, a town board action, because obviously the town board has to oversee, everything in the town.
So it doesn't have any direct influence on how the stormwater is managed at the planning board level? It doesn't put out
Go ahead, Ted.
requirements or?
Well, there's a couple of things. First, I want to back up, and the other couple of things that the law addresses are illicit discharge.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good thing.
And one of the areas of heightened concern is the Fallkill Creek and possible contamination from phosphorus. One of the things that happened last year relative to that is Dutchess County prohibited the sale of fertilizer with phosphorus in it. So when people are applying it to their lawns or in the areas of drainage that lead to the Fallkill and other creeks, they're not adding excess phosphorus that's not necessary.
So is that the illicit discharge, or what would illicit discharge be?
Illicit discharge is an illegal connection to a town-maintained storm
Like if
sewer.
somebody
Septic
had their,
system.
No, no,
of
some
failings.
pumps, as long as it's clean water, that's not
We
a
allow.
problem.
Okay.
It's if somebody's septic is failing
That's
and they
Primarily what we have
cross-connect
to deal with,
pipes.
septic
Okay.
system failure.
Okay.
Some communities that have industrial discharges have difficulty separating the two and keeping the connections apart, but we generally don't have that kind of problem here.
No.
So those are the other two things that the program covers that I wanted to make sure we talked about. Enforcement, yes, goes through the SMO, the Stormwater Management Officer. So there's a couple of updates that have occurred at requirements that occurred at DEC, and that's one of the things that we're talking about is updating the Chapter 93 local law. One is that the SMO is required to be a town employee. Currently, it's the designated as the town engineer, and we both signed the permit currently, but that's supposed to change under the new law.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So is that
Great,
just,
yeah,
the
thank you.
basics
Yep.
for now?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, so as I was saying before, the first thing is our annual report, which is due on June the 9th. It's posted now on our website. We're going to ask you, which is one of your items tonight, is to schedule a public hearing on the annual report for June the 2nd. Tad and I will have the final report completed prior to then. And then, assuming that there's no issues with any public comment, well, even if there is, we'll make any necessary changes, and then we'll file it by the June the 9th date. So again, that's just an annual report that everybody has to do every year, an MS4.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ted, Hannah and I went to a Falk Hill Committee meeting. When was that? Around January? February? March? February? I don't know if you would be interested in knowing that.
Yes.
Hannah and I and Carrie DeGroat, the
Didn't we get
CAC
some
chair.
information on that, Tad, or something?
What I got was for,
That was the Wappingers Creek meeting that you asked me
Oh,
about.
maybe that was
Yeah.
it,
The
okay.
Falk Hill Committee meets periodically. They're going through a little bit of a leadership change right now. But, we attended that and spoke about the flood mitigation project, or flood safety project in the Roosevelt Road area, which is along the Falk Hill corridor.
Okay.
The other item we had, and we've talked about this previously, is updates to Chapter 93, which is our Stormwater Management and Erosion and Sediment Control Ordinance. Ted and I had updated it, I think it was last year, but at the time it wasn't like an urgency to get it done, and so we said, we'll deal with it when the time comes. But we had updated Chapter 93 to conform to the latest DEC regulations that have come out that have to deal with green infrastructure. So we had to go through and we updated some other items that we came across since we had implemented Chapter 93 that just needed to have like a tweak or two, I'll say. We updated some things in regards to the permits, the renewals. As Tad said, we updated that the stormwater management officer would be the zoning administrator. So again, that's here as part of your package, and I think that's going to require an update to the local law and a public hearing and all that
Can you
kind
do
of
that
stuff. So
simultaneously?
About finished going through yours. I'm gonna have some recommendations.
that's fine. Good.
good.
I think Emily,
Oh, here we're
I think Emily wanted to take a look at it.
I did.
Once
Forgot about
once
that.
I finish
Sure. Yeah, that's
with
fine.
my comments.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we pretty much, are in compliance, but.
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah. We just need it up. Yeah, we're fine. We just need to update it.
So that should be soon, and I'll send that on to Emily, and then
Yeah.
the changes would have to be made my recommendation would be to just rescind Chapter 93 and just adopt the
Yeah,
new
that
Chapter
makes sense.
93.
Okay.
It'd be much easier than trying to correct all
fit them in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Would we do that on the same schedule?
We don't.
We have to do it.
No, we don't
No,
have
we
to.
don't
But I
have
guess
to.
while we're talking about MS4, we just now's the time while
Yeah,
it's
well,
still
it's
fresh in our mind that we'll move
very-
it through.
very
So
soon.
we don't need to be on the same timeline.
Okay.
Do we have a real red line? This one is all
Yeah.
black and white, so it's
I
hard to
have a
see
red
what's
line.
the, maybe I have.
I
it.
have-
Resend the red, do you want to resend the red line?
I will resend the red line.
Do you have the red line, or do?
I have
Some,
red line.
some
That you
areas
did.
are faded. Are
I
those the
know, but
ones
I'd
that-
rather not rely on.
Yeah, we can get the red line
Yeah,
to
make
you.
sure that we all have I'm working from I think I'm working from the most current red line, but I have it, so you can just resend it.
So you'll send that, Ted?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. All right, so that was chapter 93. The other, last item in your package, there's a stormwater management plan, and that's a requirement of the MS4 program. There's, Tad and I have been working on it. There was a template that was provided through the Dutchess County MS4 working group that Tad attends the meetings. How often are they? Monthly or monthly? And that's basically just to describe what, our program is. It follows everything that we've done since we started in 2000 and 2003. And there's a lot of stuff that we did not put in here, which we have, such as the appendices. We have them all. It's just that it would become kind of like big to give in your package. So we have all that, and we'll put that in there. And I think that probably only requires an approval of the town board. That's
Right.
not any kind
It's
of a
not a
local
public
law. It's
hearing,
just,
right.
a document.
Right.
So, perhaps we could move that along also whenever we adopt Chapter 93. We could include the stormwater management plan, and again, any comments anybody has
It's
would be great.
It outlines the responsibilities of different individuals for different portions of the program, and it contains forms and procedures and identifies how to get things changed so that when staff changes, there's some book
Right,
on the
right.
shelf that can help people understand what the program, how it's been developed and where it goes.
Has this been reviewed, or is it just on an audit basis that it would be reviewed? I mean, do you send this into DEC, or?
No, we don't send it into DEC. I'm sure it will be reviewed at our next audit, and it is required. We are a little bit behind schedule in adopting it. The MS4 committee took great pains to go through and identify all the things that are required to be in there. Some of them are a little difficult for us to do.
Like, for instance, cleaning the catch basins, we say that we do it only when we repave.
That's what we
Is that-
do.
But is that adequate?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We have not been fined in an audit. Every July, we talk to Pat Farrakane at our committee, and I have pictures of both the county and the state who do clean the catch basins annually.
Mhm.
And I run out and snap
Yeah.
pictures. And they are mostly concerned with those in industrial areas.
Okay.
So far, we don't have a ding on it, but
Well,
I
that's.
don't know how long that's gonna last.
I mean, we could certainly, we just got talking about, your budget and stuff.
I know.
I mean,
But I'm just saying, I'd rather us know what we need to do and work towards addressing it than not know and be fined.
well, up
we're
to
the
this
only
point,
community in the MS4 group that doesn't clean the basins.
Well, speaking
At
of
least
that,
have a rotational schedule. You don't have to do it every year, but at least, do an inspection, identify the ones that need it most. And, that's one of the things that the SWIMP should be able to identify as a
well, what would we
need.
need to do to be able to clean the basins?
either, well, I mean, we don't have, a cleaning,
don't-
machine.
We have
Now,
to-
there's
we
some
need a-
other, municipalities who do have one, and I don't know if it'd be on like a borrow, like, or barter-like basis, but,
And that would be the highway department would do that?
yeah, either that, or you could,
Contractor.
retain a contractor to come in, and clean all your basins. But right now, the process is that whatever, as we put in there, or as we put in the annual report, that whatever roads are gonna be paved in that particular year, the basins are clean.
Oh.
Who
How-
cleans them now when we pay?
Highway, I
don't
think.
know. I mean,
No, he does a contract.
yeah, I think that he
He does
does
a
like a
contract.
contract.
Contract, is that right?
And one of the things that came up in the committee meeting, MS4 committee meeting, was, well, what, the towns that take it out of the basin or have a contractor, you're supposed to have a log of where, how much comes out of the basins and where it is deposited, because it can't just be reused for road grit. It has to be disposed of at a disposal site.
How many basins do we have?
We
I
don't
don't
have
know.
an inventory of that. That inventory hasn't been required.
Mm.
We know the outfalls, but we don't know the basins.
Does MS4 require, we just came off a heavy winter and we use a tremendous amount of salt. Does that all go into effect? So if we're over a limit, does that affect the MS4 in any certain ways?
That's one of the reasons that Hyde Park has for not cleaning its basins annually, because we don't use a mix of sand and salt.
Right.
We only use pure salt, so we're not putting a lot of debris into the basins.
Okay.
And just one other question, because it came up recently. The plan that we're supposed to have for the highway garage, it says that we're currently preparing it?
We've done the,
Where's that in?
Page
Which
18.
one?
we've done the quarterly self-inspections. We've done that form. And
In which plan, Ann? Is
On the very bottom of page 18, it says the MS4 is currently preparing a stormwater pollution prevention plan for the town highway garage.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other thing we did, the.
Quarterly
the main-
inspections.
Yeah, right, where you
Yeah.
said the quarterly inspections.
the town highway garage, it's my understanding that one of the changes that has happened is town highway garages are considered multi-sector permit facilities. And if a town garage is covered under the MS4 requirements, that it does not need a separate multi-sector permit.
As long as it has a
As
plan.
long as it's, right.
Yeah, I
So
spoke with Brian Skorlick about it, and he
So-
explained that to me.
Pete and I have that on the list to work on.
Okay, well, Brian offered, his assistance, so he's
Okay.
worked with other towns on that, so.
Well, we would certainly be interested in any kind of a sample plan.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to talk about plagiarism, but.
No, hey, it's shared services.
Yes, but honestly, I mean, anything would have to
Yeah.
be tailored to us, like in our needs, obviously, but if we could talk to him and get a sample.
Well, it would just kind of give you a place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
All righty.
So that's where we are, so as long as you'll pass the resolution tonight, we should be good to go, and then we can talk about Chapter 93 whenever you guys finish reviewing it, and
Okay, well, thank
we'll
you.
go from there.
Thanks.
All right?
Thank you,
Thanks.
Chad, for
Thank
coming out tonight. Okay,
Yeah, we talked about stormwater for 20 minutes.
Oh, I'm writing it
Counting
down.
that? All right. Like 10 people.
the next item on the agenda is the Rebuilding Together program. And I had talked to the director of the program, Christina Borak, and she was going to be here, but something must have come up. So I'll just kind of go over it so the public can familiarize themselves with this program. It's a great opportunity for people to improve their homes. It's a volunteer program, and they come, it's Rebuilding Together, Dutchess County, and they come and revamp anyone who applies and is approved for this program. They have 2 rebuilding days, and unfortunately, we did not have any applicants for Hyde Park this year, which was really disappointing. But I have the application at my office. It's also on the website, and it's a nonprofit that provides free home repairs. You have to, the home's appraised value must be under $239,000. The income eligibility is 80% or below the Dutchess County median household. The applicants must be Dutchess County residents and own and reside in the home seeking repairs. All types of homes are eligible except for mobile homes on property owned by someone else. Your mortgage, if you have one, and property school taxes must be current, and must have homeowners insurance. Required repairs fall within our mission of warm, safe, dry, and independent. And as I said, the appraised value should be under $239,000. So their telephone number is 845-454-7310. And as I said, they're very eager to work with any homeowners that fit the income eligibility. And that 80%, if you are a family size of one person, your income limit would be $44,750. If you are two people, $51,150. 3, $57,550, 4, $63,900, 5 people, $69,500, 6 people, $74,000. So you can see they're fairly generous limits on the income eligibility. So I really do hope that people in Hyde Park take advantage of this wonderful volunteer program, and I would be very happy to help anyone who needs to fill out the fairly simple application, and it is available in my office. So again, it's Rebuilding Together, Dutchess County, 454-7310.
We should give a copy of that to Diane to bring over to the senior center.
Sure, that's a good idea.
You know.
Yeah, we've had it out on the table, and they
Yeah.
have little tear-offs, and a number of them have been torn off, so.
Oh, great.
It's really a nice program. So I'm hoping that some Hyde Park people will take advantage of it. So the next item on the agenda is, I just wanted to have a brief discussion on the part-time building inspector that we have on one of the resolutions. And Tad is here, and Don, I've worked with them both on this. Up until a few years ago, we did have a part-time zoning administrator, deputy zoning administrator, and he basically assisted Tad in the area of enforcement, primarily junk cars or some of those other issues. But the reason that it was Bruce Donegan, and he moved away to Florida, and we never actually filled that part-time position. But the reason that we're moving it from deputy zoning administrator to a code enforcement person or deputy building inspectors, that's a broader category, and they can assist both in prosecution. They can assist both the building inspector and the zoning administrator. Most people don't realize that they're very different positions, and Tad's as zoning administrator is really, her departments are junk cars and signage primarily. Would you agree with that, Tad? Yeah, and then Don as the building inspector, and we have a part-time fire inspector, that's John DeRusso. That's more, as obviously the fire inspector, they inspect more than 3 units. They all, as per New York State law, any multifamily more than 3 units has to be inspected, so that's falls to John DeRusso. But we have a chapter in our code, it's the property maintenance chapter, and I don't know about you guys, but I would say it's one of my most frequent calls from people that reside in our community.
Calls and emails.
Calls and emails, and so the volume of those really exceed our ability to manage those calls, and it's just it's part of a quality of life issue, and I think that that's one of the reasons that we have been seeking to revise this position.
It seems like the new person would not really be assisting them as much as they'd be doing something that isn't currently getting done, because Tad and Don spend their time reviewing the applications from people who are trying to follow the law, and it's sort of frustrating then when there are other people just flagrantly breaking the law and there isn't any follow-up on those things. So
Exactly.
it's right for us to address that.
You know, if we want to sell our town, which that's what we do, or if you want to sell your home and you have a mess next to you, it's unfair to that homeowner, and it's unfair to all the taxpayers that take care of their properties, or, the business people that want to come into the town. If you're gonna sell your home, you're gonna make sure your lawn is mowed, and it looks great. And really, that's our responsibility, or at least I feel that's my responsibility for my ward and as a councilman, is to sell our town. If we're gonna get good developers and good businesses in, we have to present a good-looking town. And without having this, it's been extremely difficult. So I am excited that we're finally addressing this issue.
So the process that we followed is that we put together a list of the duties that we wanted this person to perform. We submitted those to civil service, and they shoot back to us a job description, and that's why it came out as the building, the deputy building inspector. So yeah, again, it's going to be junk cars and primarily property maintenance issues. With the increase in the number of properties going to foreclosure, it's also, kind of an opportune time to follow up on that, especially in the spring when you have so many complaints about grass height and that type of thing. So there'll be.
So where would this person actually, who would the person be working
Well,
under or
they'll
for?
be reporting
Combined?
to both.
For
Yeah, it's
both.
really a codes enforcement
Okay.
person. And they'll be able to go to court, and work with the
Prosecutor?
current prosecutor that we have. We haven't yet located the physical position for this person, but that's the next step. And so, we're going to advertise, and we'll see what kind of response we get, and take it from there.
Are there other towns that have this type of position already?
Well, we're looking for a part-time person. We
Right.
don't want to have any additional benefits or anything
No, I
like
was
that.
just wondering, so there are other
Yeah.
towns, so if a complaint comes in from wherever in our wards, we would, the resident or business owner would come into town hall, fill out a
Well,
form? What's the process now?
Okay, the process is now that if they call or email Tad, myself, Don, they would be told to come on in and fill out a complaint form and basically describe what they're objecting to and submit it to the right department. We work with each other to make sure they're fed to the right person. Then either the zoning administrator or the building inspector go out and do an investigation, and then they, if a violation is found, they issue a notice of apparent violation and ask the property owner to rectify or remedy the situation. And you get a pretty good compliance with that, right, Tad? And, then from that point on, if they don't comply, then the process moves forward to bring to the local court as a general rule. Right, Warren?
Either the local court, or you can bring an action in Supreme Court for injunctive relief.
Mm-hmm.
There are two avenues. One's a criminal prosecution, the other would be a civil injunctive, which you would use in more egregious cases where you don't feel you're going to get the cooperation of the property owner in local court.
And actually, there's another methodology too, which is to invoke the property maintenance law, which we did do once last year on the property on Mansion Drive. And so we basically, the town board holds a hearing, and people are, the property owner with the violation is notified and asked to come to the hearing, as in anyone else, any other public hearing. People are allowed to speak. And at that point, we can go ahead and opt to receive bids to do the repair work that's necessary, and then have the repair work done and attached to the property for taxes.
So I'm just get a better handle on this. So if we hire somebody to do this, could they come to us and say, I have these 6 residents?
If we hire a building,
If we hire,
a
right.
deputy building
If we go this
inspector.
route, and then it comes in front of the board for that type of hearing, like we did on Mansion, could we do a block of them at one time and then say, instead of always, I seem like I'm always running into Tad's office or I'm running into Don's office, is the vision to have like a block of these that we can have
My understanding is that's the way the town of Poughkeepsie does it.
Right.
And so I think that that is a vision, but we could
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Well, the first thing is to
good.
offer people the opportunity to
Yeah.
comply, right?
Right,
And
to
then-
let people know,
But at the moment, people that, not to throw, Tad under the bus or anything, but right now,
Why
you know,
not,
if-
Tad?
If there's complaints, I mean, we try to, as much as possible, to address them, but, everyone's spread real thin, so I don't know. I'm hoping with this that there'll be some action, so when there is a complaint, there's action
Well,
taken.
we'd like to see a flow, so to
Yes.
speak, where people would be asked to clean them up, to remedy it, and then if they don't, then, you go through this process, and as you say, maybe you end up with a number of them at the same time that you could process in an expeditious way. It's interesting, though, it's informative and interesting to talk to other supervisors in other towns to see how they do it. And I have talked to Todd Tancredi, and that's the way they do it. And then they use their highway department often to go in and
Clean it up.
clean it up and then build build
Exactly.
back for those
Mm-hmm.
things. So we'll kind of take it one step at a time and
Well, we're
and
in the right
see
direction.
how it goes. And we're looking at this hopefully in some ways as a neutral revenue or revenue neutral position. That the fire inspections are something that property owners pay for, right, Tad? Yeah, there's a fee for that, so we're hoping that we can, that's an important quality of life issue, that we make sure that we inspect multifamily dwellings for safety reasons. So we want to, make sure that we're current on those, so I envision that this position will be utilized that way.
I mean, I think this is an investment no matter what. If we're going to attract, young families and, we have to have clean neighborhoods and.
This past week, I had two people contact me, and one was someone actually contacted Emily regarding the signage that's put on telephone poles, and he was very upset about that and thought that we should pursue that, which I think we should as well. And then, but I also heard from someone who I know casually through through my real job or my other job. The one I make money at, but he was a handyman who was doing some work, and he put signs up on telephone poles in the town of Poughkeepsie, and the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department called and told him to remove those signs. So I thought that was interesting.
So just to clarify, it's not legal to have signs up
Right.
that aren't on your own property, right? So if you have a sign for your business and it's anywhere that's not your own property, that's illegal, right?
That's right. And so they, in the town of Poughkeepsie, they used their police department to enforce that. And then the second call was from someone who lives at River Ridge, and I have to get back to her, but, she was very disturbed to see the quality of a lot of the businesses around the crossroads, around the library and the post office, and she was wondering what she could do or we could do to address that. And I think it's something that we always struggle with in Hyde Park, is really everyone wants to see an improved business district, but we don't have necessarily all the tools in our toolbox to make that happen. So it's something that we continually discuss and work towards. And, I mean, if I could go beg the property owners to make those improvements, I would. I really think that it's a very sad thing when people can't pull the weeds out in front of their own property, or, that they leave garbage in front. And so it's something, again, we get a lot of calls on that, and I'm looking forward to having someone be able to just
I agree.
expeditiously handle that by telephone calls first.
I'll vote on it right now, yeah.
So if we pass this tonight, then it'll be advertised?
Yeah,
That'll be the next step?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
okay.
if anyone might be interested in the job, that would
They-
be up on the town website?
Yep, they can contact 229-5111, extension 8, and Sandy Bruno is our personnel person, and she can provide the information to them, and so, okay.
Is it civil service?
It's
It's not competitive.
It's
it's
not
not
competitive,
okay.
competitive, and
You
it's
don't have to
part-time.
You don't have to go-
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
One thing I recommend on this, though, is that I think we should do a very short amendment to our code to address the powers of the part-time code enforcement officer. So it's clear that they have enforcement powers under the code. If they go to court, someone may argue that
Okay.
Okay.
There's no
So how do we
provision in
do that? Is
I'll
it-
take care of it.
Okay,
Okay.
Great, thank
But
you.
we don't have to hold up
No,
advertising.
go ahead.
okay.
All right.
All right, and then the final item is just the Municity grant update. It's a long project, but Warren has distributed the memorandum of agreements to the participating towns.
Yes, it's moving along. We signed the contract with the county, and we signed a contract with Software Consulting Associates. I prepared an intermunicipal agreement that's now been approved by the county, and it's going out to the 11 other municipalities for their review. We're hoping that nobody has any strong objections to what we've agreed to with the county, because it's going to be difficult to change it among 11 municipalities. So, and it's my understanding the project's going along very well. There's been 2 training sessions,
Well, there was one and then another one tomorrow, so
so
it's moving ahead,
moving along.
yes.
I also spoke with Todd Tancredi about our shared
yeah,
grant
how's
with the
that?
highway for the
Right.
salt. It's moving along well. The only question that he's going through his attorney with is if it has to go out to bid. They're not sure if it has to go out to bid, so that's kind of holding things up at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's been some massaging that's going on there with that.
I think that the county had a lot to work through
They
in
did.
terms of this grant process, so.
Yes.
I know that the next round is out, but we have a lot on our plate
Yes,
right
we do.
now, and so we're working on getting this instituted. So I don't know if anyone else has any ideas on another application. I kind of like the idea of buying a piece of machinery. That seems like a simple project, but I don't know.
Is it ever simple?
I don't know. So.
Great.
Okay.
Sidewalk plow.
So with that, I'm going to just roll right into the public comment on the resolutions only.
Did you want to mention the fire?
I do, yes,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah. One final bit of correspondence, actually, is the Hyde Park Fire and Water District is exploring a possible merger with the Statsburg Water or Fire District. So Emily, Emily's been talking with them a little bit. You want to give a little update?
Yeah, they've been having public meetings and welcome people to come to those and get more involved. But the representatives of both Statsburg and Hyde Park Fire Districts came and met with me to ask for us to submit a support letter for their application to the county. And what they're looking for is to get a grant to just study the possibility of merging the 2 fire districts and what savings that would offer, so that they would have more data to analyze. So it's not a done deal by any means, but it's something that they're exploring. It wouldn't really change anything. They would still have the 3 firehouses and the same firefighters, but they're thinking that it might offer them some efficiencies. So they're exploring that, and they asked us to submit a support letter for their grant application.
Which we're happy to do.
Absolutely.
So I just want to let the public know that. Okay. So anyone want to make a public comment? Doesn't look like it. So then why don't we just move on to the resolutions?
Resolution 512-1 of 2014, resolution accepting a donation for music in the park from Rhinebeck Bank. Thank you, Rhinebeck Bank.
Yeah, again, they were very generous. This is the second year in a row where the Rhinebeck Bank is supporting they're our major sponsor. I mean, they gave us $3,000, and it's a very nice event. It's actually on our website now with all the Music in the Park series. And again, I just really want to thank Rhinebeck Bank for their community support. It's been very generous.
It's very generous, and the total price tag is somewhere around $6,000-7,000.
Close to 7, yeah.
And so this really helps us defray. The rest of it is paid for primarily by the town. There's a few smaller donations, but
Yeah, the chamber does a little bit.
little bit,
The
but
Lions do a little bit. Primarily,
it's
it's going to
the
be the
town.
town and the bank is really supporting quite a bit of
yeah,
that.
but it's a wonderful thing for our community. So do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 512-2 of 2014,
Resolution approving a request from Regina Chale Church to conduct a fireworks display on Saturday, May 31st, 2014.
Second?
And this is the Regina Chile Carnival, right? And what
Yep.
was it, the May
May
31st?
31st.
Okay.
Yep.
So looking forward to that.
Fun
And
time.
so, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 512-3 of 2014, resolution adopting local law number 1 of 2014.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have to do a roll call?
Yeah, I don't know, do we?
Is this a roll call?
Roll call?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Councilwoman Simpson.
Aye.
Sorry about that, Don.
Councilman Ray.
Aye.
Councilman Barons.
Aye.
Councilman Schneider.
Aye.
And Supervisor Moore.
Aye.
And this was a lot line, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Resolution 512-4 of 2014, resolution recognizing and accepting the independent auditor's report for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2013, and the independent auditor's report on communication of internal control matters identified in the audit.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 512-5 of 2014, resolution establishing an additional position of part-time deputy building inspector.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 512-6 of 2014, resolution amending Resolution 1216-3 of 2013, authorizing agreement for the expenditure of highway monies.
Okay, so this resolution, if you remember, we signed back in February or so, and
Additional money.
for the highway, the CHIPS money, and we are getting an additional 22,000 that is to be used for a road that was damaged in the winter of this 2013-14. So we're going to be doing a little bit more of Mill Road
Road.
than we expected. So.
Yeah. Good.
So second,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 512-7 of 2014, resolution accepting the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area Grant under the 2014 Heritage Development Grant Program and authorizing the supervisor to sign a memorandum of agreement.
Second?
And this is the Greenway grant that our new town historian obtained to do a walking tour of the historic area. So that's really going to be interesting, and I'm thankful that she reached right out and did that. So,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 512-8 of 2014, resolution appointing Rodenhausen Chale LLP as attorneys to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Board effective May 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014.
And essentially, we are just approving the continuation of using Victoria Polidoro and George Rodenhausen as our ZBA and Planning Board attorneys. They had a change in the partnership, so that's all that is. So do we have a second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 512-9 of 2014, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to proceed with lease agreement for 2014 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 512-10 of 2014, resolution scheduling a public meeting on the 2014 MS4 permit annual report for June 2nd, 2014.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I don't see anyone out there looking to come up and speak, so can I have a motion to, do you have?
I just
Sure.
mentioned that,
Uh-huh.
well, two things. One for the board, that Aileen and I are working on a potential application for the Transportation Alternatives Program to do some sidewalk work along Route 9. So we'll be bringing that to the next meeting, probably for a resolution, but if you want to know anything about it, you can certainly check in with us. But also for the public, the townwide tag sale is this coming
Right.
weekend. And I know there's been a lot of interest in that. Thankfully, the Recreation Department took over organizing it this year. And on the town website right now at hydeparkny.us, you can get the map of where all the tag sale locations are. And Hannah converted that into a Google map, which is great for smartphone users. So that's going to be coming out on the
Facebook
Hyde Park
page.
Facebook page tomorrow.
Oh, nice. I think we have 50 people that have signed up so far.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's
That's
good, 50
good, yeah.
locations. So that's good.
You mentioned
right.
this?
Sure, what is that?
This was cool. Right in the center of town here, we have the Winnicke Nature Preserve had the opening of the Educational Arboretum, and it's really cool. Everything that in this book, it tells you the trees and where you are, what they are. It's amazing. It was part of
It's a
the
great
Rogers
trail.
Estates.
Yeah.
And it's short. It's like over a mile, but it's really interesting. It's right in the center of the town. People don't even know it's there.
Right
It's
behind,
great.
Behind Pete?
Red
Pete
Cap,
Fame.
yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
If you go on the Winnicke Land Trust website, you can download the booklet, and then you can follow it as you go
Yep.
around the trail.
Yeah. Oh,
About
that's good.
1.1.
Thanks, Dave, for mentioning that.
Yes, it was great.
Okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
You just
And a
walk
second?
in there
Second.
clean.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
You're in a
Hey,
forest.
great job.